1939, a modern civilized nation stood still as hundreds and thousands of people were degraded, imprisoned, and murdered. The citizens of this country elected officials and community leaders that were bystanders. This nation was America. In 1939, America and its leaders continued the policy of isolationism. Like the German bystanders, Americans were content with their own safety. They were thousands and thousands of miles away from a war that had little to do with them personally. Dr. Seuss, the most well-known children's author, began his career drawing cartoons that were critical of these isolationist policies. Today, we focus on the inhumanity of the Nazis and how different they were from us. However, we fail to realize that the traits that allowed them to be inhumane are found in all of us. It is human nature. It is how we choose to act on these tendencies that define our character. Humans naturally arrange themselves and others within groups. Tafel and Turner's social identity theory summarize this process in their many studies of group behavior. The first step in forming a group is categorizing individuals. In the case of the Nazis, they based these categories on stereotypes, religion, and physical appearance. In Nazi propaganda, Jews were repeatedly characterized as physically unattractive, sly, and lazy. They were portrayed as crafty and swindlers, taking advantage of society without contributing to it. They were further dehumanized by having their names and personalities replaced by numbers and statistics. Once in-groups and out-groups are delineated, a hierarchy of groups is formed. The in-groups represent the norm, and the members of the out-groups are exiled for deviating from the norms of society. When Hitler and the Nazi Party created an Aryan or superior race, ordinary German people flocked to the concept. Suddenly the group line had been drawn, and a large majority of the people were eager to be on the good side of that line. With an acceptance into an in-group, individuals began displaying natural preferences of their own group. When Hitler and his officers initiated the euthanasia program called Action T4 and began euthanizing Germans with disabilities, the citizens began to openly protest. The unrest was enough to end the official murder of the disabled and mentally handicapped. They did not protest murder per se. What they protested was the murder of members of their own group. The church actually cooperated with the Nazi Party, meeting openly with the Nazis and flying the Nazi flag over places of worship. But when the Nazis tried to alter the Bible, suddenly groups of clergy sprang into action and began their own campaign against the Nazis. In both these examples, protests can only be observed when the lives and rights of in-group members are threatened. There were few protests for the Jews, the out-group members. At the Typography of Terror Museum in Berlin, I experienced the power of this human psychology firsthand. I've always felt the deep sympathy for the victims of the Holocaust, but it was the picture of the murdered American soldiers that made me truly angry. They were Americans, us. They had American names and families that probably still missed them. Without realizing it, I became my own example. Whether the in-group's power over the out-group is real or imagined is irrelevant. It is this sense of power that spurred groups of ordinary German men to shoot down Jews, Romans and Sintis, homosexuals, political opponents, and other groups. The Stanford Prison Study conducted by Philip Zimbardo at Stanford University reveals similar tendencies in human behaviors. Two groups of ordinary freshman men were assigned to play the role of prison warden or inmate in an artificial prison. After only a few days, people who were assigned the role of wardens had warped into sadistic control freaks that intentionally tried to break the will and minds of the inmates they were in charge of. The experiment had to be ended weeks before its scheduled time. If this can happen in a matter of weeks, it is unimaginable what the influence of such perceived power could do over a period of several years. The Nazi officials went through a similar sinister transformation, dealing out death seemingly without conscience. We all tend to think that what happened in Germany could never happen again. We assume people are more aware, more civilized, more advanced than those who were behind the Holocaust. Unfortunately, we are wrong. The Stanford prison experiment became reality in Abu Ghraib. American soldiers abused the power given to them with torture that horrified the entire world. There are still hate groups that use our own freedom of speech to spread their propaganda. Even worse still, there are groups today that are not even aware of the implications behind their messages. This is a flyer distributed on our own campus, CSU. My heart skipped a beat when I saw what I thought was a piece of Nazi propaganda. It is our duty to become more vigilant, to be aware of our faults, and to never let them overcome us.